can think about all these things before the game. But during the game, you just focus on the game itself. I forgot who my opponent is. I forgot I'm playing against, and I just play my best.
Welcome back to my channel. Today we are joined with a very special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Yeoh Tian himself. And I'm also joined by the founders of ECG, an innovative new chess platform, of which me and Li Tian are going to be a part of. So you guys being my guests, I'm going to let you go first. So Jackie, do you have any questions?
I would like to know what is your current goal? How long you set yourself to hit your GM norm?
Honestly, right now, no. I'm focusing more on my job, my work career actually. I think at least for the next 2 or 3 years, I will settle down more on my career first. Honestly, I have kind of passed my prime already. I think my prime is around the point where COVID actually hits in. So you treat this as an excuse or what. But basically, it's like after that, once the COVID actually kind of slows down, that's where I finish my uni time. I actually need to work lah, so less time already. So right now it's more of like dragging it into a more long-term, consistent, like keep my form and all these kind of things instead of like pushing within 1 year. At least for now, my long-term plan is for the next 2, 3 years, I won't be focusing too much on chess lah.
Secret tips for all the chess audience here, how to become like you.
At the very first is to learn to play simple chess first, I think. During the session just now, when I play this with the audience, to the public, most of the time I actually avoid the complicated play and then go into a simple one. Actually, with to play a simple chess, you actually kind of get to appreciate chess more. It's like you do a more natural, simple move and then you still kind of get into a better position. You don't really need to like complicate a lot of things, do tactics here and there and these kind of things. So learn to play simple chess first, and it also that you like appreciate chess and actually love chess instead of looking chess is like everything calculate, memorize opening line, all these kind of things. You appreciate chess and then you also improve much faster at early stage. Of course, towards the higher end, like FM, IM title, then you need more on this part. You really need to study opening and all these kind of things. But as a starter, as a beginner, I would say learn how to play simple chess first.
Okay, Lian, for those who are competitive, how they can become even stronger?
This one at some point is very like personalized. It's not like I can tell you a way to for every person. So it's like when you just started playing chess, you kind of like learn a lot of random things. Like one day you lose in this game and then your coach tells you, or you lose because you make some mistakes here and you should be doing other things and things like this. You imagine like as a player you have a whole rectangle area kind of things where you have to learn all the things in this, something like that. I mean, of course, not that simple, but if you think of it like this, so at the early stage, you kind of just color random places, and then normally you just color, and so you learn something. But then when you go higher, most of the part is actually colored. It's not empty anymore. So then you need to actually know how to find out the empty spaces and color them. So at that point, it's more on you actually need to actually sit down and analyze your own game like really seriously instead of doing things like maybe reading a book. Just most of the time you read a book and then realize this thing I know already, that thing I know already, and this kind of things. So then your improvement is very slow. So if you do more on self-analysis and you think like at this point I make a mistake, why is it so? What is my thought process that make me not find the best move and things like this? So it's like more specific instead of learning in a more general way. So at this point I can't tell you like or when you go higher, you study this thing, and you become better. It cannot because this thing you already know, but the other things that you don't know about it. It's more practical, like you actually need to look at games instead of just study books and these kind of things.
Now, in my opinion, there are a lot of strong players in Malaysia, but most of them struggle to perform consistently. They'll have one very good tournament followed by a total disaster, and because of that, it's very hard for them to get a rating up. Now, Li Tian, you're one of the most consistent players in Malaysia. What do you think sets you apart from the rest of us?
That's a good question, but I think it's more like your playing style actually, because I noticed that the newer players, the younger generations, they tend to play more, and I say like complicated chess. So like their games are very more sharp in the sense that you have like maybe less accurate moves. Like every move you only have one or two choices or even less. So it looks like you're more inconsistent because at some point you find better moves than your opponent, and at some point your opponent like vice versa. So but for me, I normally play a more simple line and then I just try to slowly grind out a win or something to wait for your opponent to make more mistakes. I would say at this point it's more of your play style lah, and your lines, your system, your position that you choose. If you naturally choose lines that are more sharp, of course you looks like you are less consistent because you win more, you lose more, and then overall maybe you are around the same result. So if you want to be more consistent, I guess you can choose games that are more like testing your understanding instead of very sharp lines and test your preparation, test your calculation skills and all these kind of things. But these things will naturally at some point you are more sharp, you have better form, maybe you slept well yesterday night or something, you can calculate better. And then the next day you some mode distraction or something, you calculate worse. But if you play a more, you know, theoretical kind of position, then this will affect less to your game because you can't just play naturally. You don't really need to like, calculate too much. At least that's my understanding.
I think you have a very good point. However, I find that players are getting increasingly well prepared, and it's getting harder and harder to get anything out of the opening, especially with the black pieces. So, how do you play for a win against lower rated players, especially with black?
Honestly, I think this is a matter of experience. I don't think I have even finished complete this thing yet, but at some point, if you look at my games, I did perform very badly as black against players who is slightly weaker than me. I did my stat as well. So it's like if I'm white, my result is actually very good. If my black and I try to push a win against players who is slightly weaker than me, at least in terms of rating, I actually score like what 40+% against them. So I lose more than I win actually. And you do have to like slowly learn how much you can actually take the risk so that you make higher chance for your opponent to make mistake. But at the same time, you also make sure that you don't lose and something like that. You don't over push these kind of things. I don't think I'm like the very correct person to give this kind of advice lah. Because the best I can give is play more and know your own limits. That's the only thing that I can actually do. Because that's what I have been doing. So that okay, at some point you know how much risk you can actually take so that you can still handle the position and your opponent can make mistake. If against 2-2 player, you know how to do this. Normally it's a 200 point difference. So it's like if you're 2-4, you should be able to beat 2-2 more consistently and doesn't lose. And then after that, you'll start losing to 2-3 and push too much. Then you need to learn how to win them. Then you push out your team to 2-5, something like this. So you just rinse and repeat this whole process.
Now, Tian, you've obviously had fantastic achievements in chess. You've won the zonal tournament, you've got 2 Grandmaster Nom. Now, when you're actually really close to it, I'm sure that you really start to get nervous. You start to think, oh, I can get the Nom, I can win this tournament. So how do you keep your nerves in check and continue to play good chess under serious pressure?
You can think about all these things before the game, but during the game, you just focus on the game itself. That's actually what happens to me most of the time. For example, during World Cup, play with Anand, it's a really strong opponent. But then actually during the game, I kind of just forget who my opponent is. I can just play my best. Like I literally just I forgot who my opponent is. I forgot I'm playing against Anand. I just play my best. And then maybe according to my game strategy, like okay, I need to win this game. I need to draw this game. These kind of things. I just remember all these things and forget about other things. And then during like zonal, these kind of things, when I first got my GM norm as well as my real big achievement. Before and after the game, I actually think like really like get nervous and all these kind of things. Right? And I go into a game, I actually, just calm. I just think about the chess game itself. I don't think about what is the consequence of win, draw, or lose and all these kind of things. I will have in mind like, okay, this game, maybe I don't need to push too much for win, this kind of thing. These kind of things that will actually affect your game, what you are going to play, that what I keep into the game. The consequence of it, it doesn't change what you are going to move, right? So these things I just forget about it during the game. So I think at some point you have to learn how to just focus on the game itself. Like before and after you can think about it 24 hours. I don't care as long as during the game you don't get affected by this. And I think this will naturally comes to you when you fail and success a lot of times already. Because you get like nothing also, right? I lose this game, I lose this kind of similar situation for like 3-4 times already. I know how it feels, so I know how to control it as well.
That's great advice. I really should follow it. Maybe one day I'd actually win a national championship. Who knows?
Well, I mean, I went through the same thing as well. Like I was like the first seed for national championship for like I think 2 years so continuously, which I didn't won. And then after that only like start to win 2 years in a row. So yeah, you lose and then you get used to it and then you win. Rinse and repeat for higher tournaments. So that's how it goes lah. I don't think there's any players who can actually just go and win every single thing. Although like without any feeling about it and this kind of thing. You do get nervous and your mood swings when you go into things that's unfamiliar, right? So I think it's very common.
I guess National Championship 2026, here we come. Unless Li Tian decides to make a comeback, in which case, yeah, it would be a different story.
Well, at that point, I may forget about what's the feel of playing national championship. So maybe I'll start losing as well, and I need to lose like 2 years to get back. Who knows?
If let's say a person are eager to learn from you, is there any way, Nitian?
If you do want to learn, then we can go to ECG, where they have not just me, but also other good coaches as well.
So I hope you enjoyed the first part of our interview with Li Tian. And if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss part 2. In the meantime, check out Jackie and Tian Guan's website, links in the description below. I think this is a great initiative and I hope it succeeds. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.